Friends, today we are going to talk about ethanol for blending into fossil fuels like petrol and diesel. Ethanol as a substance is essentially ethyl alcohol, the type of alcohol you find in alcoholic beverages. It's more often used as a biofuel additive to gasoline or motor spirit. The use of pure ethanol, in hydrous form or anhydrous form, pure ethanol is possible as a fuel in internal combustion engine only if the engines are specifically designed or the present engines are modified to suit pure ethanol as a fuel. You see, the pure ethanol contains only 2/3 of the energy of equivalent volume of pure gasoline. Therefore, if you really require to use pure ethanol as a fuel in an internal combustion engine, the engines are to be modified to suit the increased volume of ethanol. The higher percentage of ethanol can be effectively used in certain cases, provided the engines are specifically designed for that, such as the racing engine applications. The pure ethanol gives very high octane number, therefore the high octane number should be compatible with the new designed engine with higher compression ratios. The pure ethanol has a gasoline gallon equivalency, we call GGE, equivalence of 1.5, which means that to replace the energy of 1 volume of gasoline, 1.5 volumes of ethanol is required. Ethanol blended petrol is widely being used in various countries like Brazil, United States. Even in India, we have started using ethanol blended petrol. So up to a percentage of 10% of ethanol, it can be used without much of modifications on the current engines. So this is what is being followed in various countries including India as of date. Ethanol blending up to 10%, that is E10 petrol, is permissible in India, but sufficient quantities of ethanol is not available in India as of date to cover the whole of petrol being produced. Therefore, out of the total petrol sold in India, about 50% of the total petrol is getting blended with 10% ethanol as of date, while the remaining still are sold as unblended petrol, that is E0. According to various reports, 20% ethanol blending is what is targeted in India to reach maybe by 2025 or little beyond 2025. So there is a gradual rollout is planned to reach 20% ethanol by the time you touch maybe 2025, 2030. Immense benefits can accrue to our country if you are able to achieve 20% ethanol blending. Such savings can transform to maybe about rupees 30 to 40,000 crores of foreign exchange per year. It will definitely add to our energy security, lower carbon emissions, better air quality. A lot of advantages, if you are able to achieve 20% ethanol blending target. It can also lead to some increase in the income of our farmers, employment generation, and greater investment opportunities too. Government recommendations also include expediting regulatory clearances for ethanol distilleries for more and more production of ethanol in our country. In US, they have specifically designed engines to suit much higher ethanol percentage. They have gone up to E85, which contains almost 50 to 85% ethanol. Bioethanol is a sort of a renewable energy that can be produced from agricultural feedstocks. There has been considerable debate on how good to replace gasoline by bioethanol. There has been concerns that more and more production of bioethanol will call for more of land use for production of feedstocks, which can affect the food prices, which can indirectly increase the food prices. Also, there has been concerns about the total energy balance and the pollution balance from the whole life cycle of production and usage of ethanol. Ethanol is very hygroscopic, which means that it absorbs water from the atmosphere. The presence of water dilutes the fuel value and also may cause phase separation of ethanol gasoline blends, and this can lead to an engine stall. Therefore, utmost care should be kept for keeping the ethanol in closed containers. The high affinity for water also gives a lot of challenges for the transport of ethanol. You cannot transport it by pipelines effectively like other liquid carbons through long distances. The fraction of water vapor that the fuel can contain without phase separation will increase drastically with the increase in the percentage of ethanol being blended. For example, E30, that means 30% ethanol blend, can have up to 2% of water. Ethanol actually contains approximately 34% less energy per unit volume as compared to gasoline. Therefore, by theory, if you are burning the pure ethanol in a vehicle, it will reduce the range per unit volume if you are looking at the same fuel economy. However, because of the higher octane rating the ethanol can give, actually the engine can be made more efficient by raising the compression ratio. Higher percentage of ethanol blends may present a problem to achieve enough vapor pressure for the fuel to evaporate and spark the ignition during cold weather. That is a cold starting problem. There are also some research being done, some efforts being done for developing fuel cell vehicles powered by ethanol rather than hydrogen. Actually, some amount of carbon dioxide or the greenhouse gas is being emitted during the fermentation process and also mainly during the combustion. This is far less compared to the greater uptake of carbon dioxide by the plants as they grow to produce the biomass. So there is a net advantage of using ethanol as a fuel. As the ethanol is being produced from agriculture, the carbon dioxide absorption during the growth of the plant more than compensates for the emission during the combustion from the engine. In the case of fossil fuels, there is no such compensation. Actually, in the case of fossil fuels, the more emission during the refining process and production of the fossil fuels. Further, the oxygen content in the ethanol allows more complete combustion. Further, if you compare with gasoline, as compared to the unleaded gasoline, ethanol is a particulate-free burning fuel source. In many parts of the world, when MTBE is becoming a concern, MTBE is a standard octane booster additive in many parts of the world, but nowadays there have been concerns for the use of MTBE. It is getting phased out due to groundwater contamination. So the importance of ethanol has all the more increased as a better additive as compared to MTBE to boost the octane. Up to 10% of ethanol blending is quite commercialized today, and the technology is well accepted and adapted. As we go higher and higher percentage of ethanol, it will call for modifications in the existing engines, or the challenges will be the newer cars which is going to come up should be designed to take high percentage of ethanol. Nowadays, there's a lot of research and efforts are being done for blending ethanol into diesel also. The biodiesel or the e-diesel, ethanol blended diesel is called e-diesel, is also very promising from the point of view of the potential to reduce the particulate matter emissions as compared to diesel. So to conclude, let us see ethanol as a low carbon solution for the gradual phase out of fossil fuels. However, in comparison with petrol, the advantage of ethanol mainly depends on other factors including the energy content, the environmental impact, the availability, the compatibility with the engines, and the infrastructure. Ethanol is considered as a renewable energy because it is based on the plants or the agriculture. It produces lesser quantities of greenhouse gases. It also produces lesser pollution from sulfur dioxide or particulate matter. But when you consider the overall environmental impact, lot many other factors are to be seen, like the land use pattern, the energy required at various production processes of biomass and the ethanol. As far as the availability of infrastructure is concerned, if you compare with petrol, the infrastructure is well established for the movement, transportation, dispensation. But in the case of ethanol, a lot more work has to be done to develop and establish a good infrastructure. The cost of ethanol is more or less comparable in some of the places. It definitely depends on the location to location. The cost of ethanol is mainly influenced by factors such as the agricultural yields and availability of subsidies from government. Ultimately, whether ethanol is considered a better fuel than petrol will definitely depend on specific circumstances, such as the local availability, the infrastructure, the vehicle compatibility, and environmental priorities. Many countries have implemented policies to promote, including India, more and more ethanol blending.